You're walking home on a crisp autumn evening, the streets are empty, and the only sound is the rustling of leaves beneath your feet. Suddenly, you stumble upon a crime scene, the police are surrounding a body, and the air is thick with the smell of blood and fear. This is the world of Britain's cold cases, where the darkness of human nature is revealed, and the pursuit of justice is a never-ending battle. You find yourself in the small town of Oxford, where the streets are lined with ancient buildings and the air is thick with history. But beneath the surface of this idyllic town, a dark secret lurks. A young woman has gone missing, and the police are racing against time to find her. As you walk through the streets, you notice the smell of freshly baked bread wafting from the local bakery, but it's juxtaposed with the sound of sirens in the distance. The atmosphere is tense, and the locals are on edge. You can't help but wonder, what happened to this young woman, and will she ever be found? The investigation is just beginning, and the detectives are following a trail of clues that lead them deeper into the heart of the town. They're searching for any sign of the missing woman, but the more they dig, the more they realize that nothing is as it seems. The town is full of secrets, and the truth is hidden behind a web of lies and deceit. As you delve deeper into the case, you start to notice strange occurrences, and the lines between reality and fiction begin to blur. You're not sure what's real and what's not, but one thing is certain, this case will take you on a journey into the darkest corners of human nature. You're standing in a dense forest, the trees towering above you, their branches creaking in the wind. The detectives have been searching for hours, and finally, they've found something. A piece of clothing, a shred of fabric that might belong to the missing woman. As they examine the evidence, they begin to piece together the events of that fateful night. The atmosphere is tense, and the air is thick with anticipation. You can't help but wonder, what will they find next? The detectives are following a trail of clues that lead them deeper into the forest, and the farther they go, the more they realize that they're not alone. There's something lurking in the shadows, watching them, waiting for them to make their next move. The trees seem to be closing in around them, and the sound of twigs snapping beneath their feet echoes through the forest. As they push deeper into the woods, the darkness begins to envelop them, and the only sound is the rustling of leaves and the distant howling of wolves. Suddenly, they stumble upon a clearing, and in the center of it, they find a body. The atmosphere is electric, and the detectives are on high alert. They begin to process the scene, and as they do, they realize that this is just the beginning. The body is just the tip of the iceberg, and the real mystery is only just beginning to unravel. You're sitting in a dimly lit interview room, the walls are cold and gray, and the only sound is the hum of the fluorescent lights above. The detectives are questioning a suspect, a man with a shifty gaze and a nervous demeanor. As they press him for answers, you can't help but wonder, is he telling the truth? The atmosphere is tense, and the air is thick with suspicion. The detectives are trying to get to the bottom of the case, but the more they question the suspect, the more they realize that nothing is as it seems. The suspect's story is full of holes, and the detectives are starting to piece together a different narrative. They're following a trail of clues that lead them from the forest to the town, and the farther they go, the more they realize that this case is more complex than they initially thought. The suspect's alibi is shaky at best, and the detectives are starting to suspect that he's hiding something. As they continue to question him, the atmosphere becomes more and more charged, and you can't help but wonder, what will happen next? The detectives are getting closer to the truth, but the suspect is getting more and more agitated. Suddenly, he slams his fist on the table, and the room falls silent. The detectives are taken aback, and the atmosphere is electric. What will happen next? Will the suspect crack under the pressure, or will he continue to deny any involvement in the crime? You're standing in a crowded pub, the music is loud, and the atmosphere is lively. But amidst the chaos, you notice a figure standing in the corner, a figure who seems out of place. As you watch, they slip out of the pub and into the night. The detectives are following a new lead, a lead that takes them from the town to the city. They're chasing a suspect who seems to always be one step ahead. The atmosphere is electric, and the air is thick with anticipation. You can't help but wonder, what will happen next? The detectives are getting closer to the truth, but the suspect is getting more and more desperate. As they chase him through the streets, the atmosphere becomes more and more intense, and you can't help but wonder, will they catch him? The suspect is leading them on a wild goose chase, from the city to the countryside, and the detectives are starting to realize that this case is more complex than they initially thought. The suspect is not what he seems, and the detectives are starting to uncover a web of lies and deceit. As they close in on the suspect, the atmosphere becomes more and more charged, and you can't help but wonder, what will happen next? Will the detectives finally catch the suspect, or will he escape once again? The tension is building, and the outcome is far from certain. You're standing in a quiet cemetery, the sun is setting, and the atmosphere is somber. The case is closed, but the aftermath is just beginning. The detectives are reflecting on the events that have transpired, and the toll it has taken on them. The atmosphere is melancholic, and the air is thick with sadness. You can't help but wonder, what will happen next? The detectives are trying to come to terms with what they've seen, and the impact it has had on their lives. They're trying to find closure, but it's proving to be elusive. As they stand in the cemetery, they're reminded of the victims, and the families who have been torn apart. The atmosphere is heavy with grief, and the detectives are struggling to find the words to express their emotions. They're trying to make sense of it all, but it's proving to be a difficult task. As they stand there, they're confronted with the reality of the case, and the impact it has had on their lives. They're forced to confront their own mortality, and the fragility of life. The atmosphere is somber, and the air is thick with emotion. What will happen next? Will the detectives be able to find closure, or will the case continue to haunt them? You're sitting in a dark and dimly lit room. The only sound is the hum of the computer, and the glow of the screen is the only light. The detectives are reflecting on the case, and the lessons they've learned. They're trying to make sense of it all, and find a way to move forward. The atmosphere is introspective, and the air is thick with thought. You can't help but wonder, what will happen next? The detectives are trying to find a way to close the case, and bring closure to the families. They're searching for answers, but the more they search, the more they realize that the truth is complex and multifaceted. The case is a puzzle, and the pieces are still being put together. As they sit in the darkness, they're reminded of the victims, and the families who are still searching for answers. The atmosphere is heavy with emotion, and the detectives are struggling to find the words to express their feelings. They're trying to make sense of it all, but it's proving to be a difficult task. As they sit there, they're confronted with the reality of the case, and the impact it has had on their lives. They're forced to confront their own mortality, and the fragility of life. The atmosphere is somber, and the air is thick with emotion. What will happen next? Will the detectives be able to find closure, or will the case continue to haunt them? The outcome is far from certain, and the detectives are left with more questions than answers. As they sit in the darkness, they're reminded that the truth is often more complex than it seems, and that the pursuit of justice is a never-ending battle. The case may be closed, but the mystery will continue to haunt them, and the search for answers will never truly be over. The darkness seems to be closing in around them, and the only sound is the hum of the computer, and the faint whisper of the wind outside. The detectives are left with a haunting question, one that will continue to haunt them for the rest of their lives. What really happened to the missing woman, and will they ever truly know the truth? As you sit in the darkness, you're left with a haunting question, one that will continue to haunt you long after the video is over. What really happened to the missing woman, and will we ever truly know the truth? Like and comment below with your theory, and don't forget to subscribe for more true crime content. The pursuit of justice is a never-ending battle, And the search for answers is a journey that will take you to the darkest corners of human nature. Join us next time, as we delve into another case, and explore the mysteries that haunt us all. The darkness is waiting, and the truth is out there, but will we ever find it?